Alrighty. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Meza Rojas, and I am a South Salem graduate of class of 2014.
Hey, everybody. We just wanted to repost this interview with 2014 graduate Rachel Meza Rojas. Rachel's conversation originally happened back in 2024 of October, but because of her service and our wanting to honor our Saxons and Rachel, especially for her time serving our country, and then this being Veterans Day, we wanted to repost the interview. So we hope you enjoy it. And as always, go Saxons. 1. Let's get started. Today we're joined by 2014 graduate Rachel Meza Rojas. Rachel's years as a Saxon included involvement in our broadcast journalism program, shout out to Mr. Erickson, where she contributed to the publication of The Clippian. She also danced for our Saxon dance team and competed with our track and field team. She was an IB student and participated in the Willamette Academy. Since her Saxon years, she's graduated with a degree in nursing from Seattle U, and then was commissioned into the Army Nurse Corps, where she was deployed to Iraq. She's a proud cat owner of one Siamese and one snowshoe cat, and she just earned her Master's of Science in Nursing Education from Duke University. Welcome, Rachel. Give us an update on life since you graduated in 2014.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on today. It's definitely so strange to be in this phase of life and hearing all the things I've done. 'Cause it seems like yesterday that all those things happened, and yet here we are. But yeah, that pretty much sums up my path currently. I'm actually transitioning out of the military here in the next year. So that's kind of brought a new wave of change into my life, where, I can go from here. So kind of being back at the drawing board and getting to, you know, decide what I want to be when I grow up again. It's kind of a fun phase of life. Although stressful, it is exciting to consider, all the paths I could take. So yeah, I'm looking currently to jump over to Europe as a nurse. And so that is an exciting possibility. But currently I'm in Texas. Most folks know the base that I'm at as Fort Hood, but it's been renamed since then to Fort Cavazos. So I work as an emergency nurse, and looking to use my most recent degree to be an educator. So all the folks at South during the time I was there really helped me be who I am today. And I would love to give back to the nursing community as an educator.
Let's go back to graduation. You walk across that stage, you receive your diploma. In fact, we were just in classes this last week. Our seniors are getting ready to start thinking about graduation. They're about 143 days away from that moment themselves. As you graduated, tell us about that next day. When reality hit, as you're trying to decide, okay, what does life look like for the next few years, even for the next few months? What goes into that sort of that thought process, the decisions you've made, what's led you into the military itself? Talk through some of those things that you took into account.
Honestly, I think I was tired. It's a long day, a lot of emotions. You're nervous. Am I going to trip? Am I going to fall on my face when I'm walking across the stage? Thankfully, it didn't rain on our graduation day. It was very hot. But yeah, I think it was such an exciting time to, know that I was when you're, at the kind of the top of your class, you're a senior, you're one of the more, experienced folks, to then going to a college campus where, you don't necessarily know folks, maybe onesie twosies, and you're just starting this journey of, being new at something in a lot of ways. That's scary. And so especially for me as a first generation student. Thankfully, I had Willamette Academy to really kind of build me up and hype me up, and they had done a great job of kind of demystifying what college is like. And so I felt pretty comfortable, honestly, starting that journey, and I'm so grateful for Willamette Academy for that. So yeah, I think I just took time for myself. I worked at Enchanted Forest, which uh, I'm very grateful for my time there. To network and it was a fun time. So yeah, I think I was just very open to that next chapter and embracing that there's going to be a lot of change. I wasn't going to be at the top anymore. And yeah, just leaning into that.
Did you know at the time that you were headed toward some years in the military, or was that something that developed later?
I had not considered the military at all. In fact, I remember being a student at South, and there'd be those folks in their uniform, and it's like, oh, they're really awkward, and you just kind of dart past them, trying to get to lunch, like, oh, who is this person? And so it was the farthest thing I could have ever imagined myself doing. But once I learned more, especially as a nurse, what my role would be it just made sense. I was like, this opportunity is falling into my lap. Why not give it a try? And so I ended up getting pretty quickly because that's how the military works. They want to reel you in. They gave me a scholarship, and I again, being a first generation college student, I had gotten a fair amount of scholarship money, but it was only going to cover that first year. And so, there was this unknown factor of like, am I gonna have to go home? Am I gonna have to go back and, work and be at a community college and like take that path? Which there's nothing wrong with that. It just looked different than how I had imagined. And so, I was like, okay, that's a possibility. It's gonna, be a bit of a different path for my goals. But when I got the opportunity for a scholarship, I was like, this is the sign I needed. This is everything that I didn't realize I needed. And it has been such an incredible force in my life. All my close friends these days, my partner, all the things I've been able to do professionally, that's all because of the military. And so I'm very, very grateful. Would I do it again? I don't know. I think now that hindsight is 2020, there's a lot of paths to joining the military, and I think the path that I took worked for me at the time. But knowing what I know now, I think I would have continued on with my nursing path and then joined the military afterwards to do exactly what I wanted to do.
What makes you say I would have done nursing first and then join?
Yeah, so I didn't realize at the time that when nurses commission into the Army, um, you are what is called a medical surgical nurse. Med surg nurses are essentially just kind of entry level, and just kind of with my educator background, there was once this thought that you couldn't go into a specialty unless you had time as a med surg nurse. But if you specialize, so for me, I really wanted to be an emergency nurse. I could have graduated, become an emergency nurse, gotten that specialty experience, gotten my certified emergency nurse certification, which the military recognizes as essentially validating that you are very competent in that area or specialty, and then join the military and come in as an emergency nurse, as opposed to spending time as a medical surgical nurse and then you get training that the military essentially blesses you off as, okay, you now have shown competence. Now you can practice in that setting. So there's a lot of reasons I see now why it works for the military in that way. Because they need to fulfill the mission and all that kind of stuff. They need folks in all types of nursing. And for some folks that don't know what specialty they want to be in, it's a great way to kind of get a little bit of everything.
Hmm.
And so, anyway, I just knew what I wanted, and if I had known that that had been an option, I think I would have considered it more. But because I didn't know, um, I just wish, that I had been told that. So,
Yeah, that makes total sense. Speaking of options, you've mentioned a couple of times that you are a first generation college going student. We have several who are in that category here at South. What advice would you give them as they're navigating their high school years, knowing that this opportunity awaits, and yet there are barriers that are, in place in all aspects? How did you navigate those? What advice would you give our students?
Oh, such a good question. Dream big,
Hmm.
like dream so big.
I love that.
Um, because I think there is inherently this narrative that you're only good enough for this, or you have to do this because, um, nobody else has done it before. Like you have to go to community college, or you
Hmm.
have to stay local because your family needs you, or, I think there is, culture is infused into that, you just have to be stationary. At least that's kind of the narrative that I had. And it's like, no, I'm gonna dream big. I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna apply. You never know what can happen. You can get a full ride, and you're not gonna know unless you try it. And so I think trusting in risk, trusting in yourself. I think one of my really good mentors at Willamette Academy. I remember the whole reason why I ended up at Seattle University was he had told me I had not applied to enough like smaller private institutions. And so I think it was out of spite that I had applied to Seattle U. And then I ended up loving it. I visited the campus and, I was very hesitant to go there because of the cost. And, I took a risk. I just know this is going to work out. I don't know how. And it did. It did work out. So I think that, if I hadn't been brave enough to dream big, my world would look so different.
Hmm.
And not to say again that different paths are wrong. It just sometimes you don't know that if you had just dreamed a bit bigger, it could have ended up so differently.
Well, I hear that theme evident throughout all your story so far and just the different leaps that you've taken and seeing yourself. What does dreaming big look like as you navigate right now, thinking about moving to Europe and being a nurse there? That's to me is a big leap of faith and belief in yourself. And I think that's part of your story is absolutely going to connect to our students and where they're at right now, seeing themselves limited or capable, either way, of something bigger. So thank you for sharing that part too.
Of
That,
course.
yeah, that is a perfect segue into our four big questions. And always,
Okay.
as always, today's four big questions are brought to us by the Saxon Success Fund. It's a new initiative and fund organization that is aimed at raising money to invest in our school and give students that are our graduates, South Salem graduates, scholarships through capital investment and also that scholarship provision to those graduates. If anyone who's listening has more questions, they can check out saxonsuccessfund.org for more information. So let's launch into those big four questions. Here's number one. Knowing where you are today and all that you have going on in your life, what or who helped you get to this point?
A community, so many people. Um, it's crazy who the world will present to you, the opportunities that will present to you, and you just have to be open to receiving. Yeah, there's just so many people. It was really hard for me to name, all the teachers that were like I was including everybody on that little survey. Because really everybody can teach you something. And sometimes, even the really hard conversations, you learn so much. So um, Joshua Bilbrew, who at the time, he had so many titles at Willamette Academy, but he was such a big influence on me. Mr. Erickson, definitely as, a coach, a mentor, a teacher with the Clipian. Um, and yeah, just so many folks. Mary Tofty out of Shannon Forest. She gave me definitely a lot of opportunities working there. Um, and Tyler. So yeah, the whole Tofty family. Um, One of my really good friends, Rose, she's since been married, but at the time, the Conley family. Um, yeah. Um, Goodness. So many people, many professors at Seattle University, friends, just so many people. I cannot name all of them. There's so many folks. Um, yeah, I'm just so grateful for, every little piece of time. I think time is one of the most valuable gifts that we can give others. And the time that folks gave me really, I don't even truly think the people realize like how impactful their time was for me, in all the various ways, editing things and calling me, checking in on different things. And yeah, so endless people, endless people.
Question number two is what's one piece of advice you'd give your high school self? And you touched on it a little bit, but I'm wondering if you had the ability to, rewind uh, back into your high school self and sit with you in our commons and just ask questions or give that gift of time. What sort of advice would you give? What questions would you ask that you think would then propel you forward to dream big?
Yeah, I definitely, there's such a big pressure to be very involved, like that's the ticket to what colleges are looking for. But I think I was open to trying things. I wish I had been a little bit more open to trying new things, taking risks. Yeah, outdoors type things. In college, I was a part of an outdoor club, and so we'd go on trips with folks, and I did not take advantage of the outdoors. And I don't live in Oregon anymore. And so I regret not spending more time outside, especially, I don't know if Bush Park is still a safe place. It seems like it kind of waxes and wanes, just like everything. But it's such a beautiful park, the trees and, yeah, just being in nature doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just walk outside. Yeah, I just wish I had taking the time to have fun. I did have fun, but I think the fun was motivated for, you know, other reasons, to perform well, to, you know, look good for college applications. And that's important. I think maybe one thing, um, I did many things, but I think one thing to really take my time would have been good. And then yeah, having more time for just fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear that message coming through with all of our interviews so far is that quantity over quality or quality over quantity. Oftentimes we want as many things on our resume to anything makes us look good, right? And our advice always to students is no, look for something that gives you the quality of an experience that then you can tell a story about. And you
Yes,
won't be able
yes.
to tell those stories if you're spread thin across multiple hobbies and interests. And we do want you to be multifaceted, and also we want you to be able to invest and use that quality time to have those learning experience and those opportunities to grow. Similarly, question number three, what's one thing you've learned since graduating that you wish you knew in high school?
I wish that I had just had more life skill type information infused into my courses. How do you find a rental property? How do you buy a car? Like the actual logistics. Yeah, what is insurance? That is a whole thing. Um, yeah, I wish, there had been more of an emphasis on those just basic life skills because not everybody in their own families has good examples of what that looks like, credit score and, oh, credit cards are bad, but are they bad? So, yeah, I just wish I'd had more life skill things infused into my high school years.
Which is again another perfect segue to question number four. If you could transform South in one way, what would you add or change about our school and what you remember the version of it being when you were a student here?
Yeah, it sounds like things have been updated. So that is very exciting. I remember, I don't know if journalism class is still in the basement, but it was kind of like in this awkward hallway, like mostly unmarked. Like you kind of just stumbled in and were like, "Am I here?" And so, yeah, I think and we needed a update. Um,
It's been given the update. Just believe me.
Okay,
Yes.
exciting, exciting. There is something to be said about historical buildings, though.
Yes.
There's something
Yes.
very special about those things. But yeah, it doesn't have to be crazy, especially life things. You're not going to necessarily be good at whatever it is the first go, but just kind of a basic understanding. Or, where would I find useful, trusting information to lean into if I needed help with something.
It's perfect. Perfect advice. Love it. We are adding more and more classes that have that life applicability to it. And we have found that, like you, most of our graduates come back and say, our financial algebra class is the one that has been most useful in terms of life application. And it teaches those basic skills, how to balance a checkbook, although most of us don't use checkbooks anymore, but how to apply for a loan, how to buy a car, what's a mortgage. Yeah, absolutely. All those things. Okay, couple rapid fire questions to end us in
Okay.
our time today. What do you make it back to Salem much?
No, I do not. So sad.
Do you have a favorite memory of a restaurant when you have been here, somewhere
Oh,
you
yes.
used to love
Yes,
to
yes,
eat?
yes. The Gov Cup. I gotta go every time I'm there.
Yes, shout out to the Gov Cup. Great
Shout
spot,
out to the Gov
great
Cup.
vibe.
Yes.
Yes.
And the Willamette Pie Company. Oh,
Ooh,
so yummy. Yes.
yes. It's one of our favorite summer spots. Just go out there and get one of their pies or get one of their pastries. So good. Do you have a favorite movie, TV show that you're into right now?
Ooh. Oh gosh. Um, I will constantly go back to Grimm. It's a comfort show because it's sprinkled with, Portland, Oregon type goodies in there. Um, Currently, oh gosh, I love documentaries, especially true crime things. Uh, I watched Space Cowboy recently. So yeah, I'm kind of whatever is popular, whatever's trending on Netflix, I will watch, eat it up.
You're a sucker for the algorithm, huh?
Yes,
Whatever,
yes.
whatever they put in
They
front of
got
you.
me. They got
Yes.
me.
How about a favorite book?
Oh, that is also a good question. Man. Um, hmm. I will say I am currently reading a book by a South alum, and it's called The Deaf Girl by Abigail
Yes.
Heringer. Yes.
Yes.
And so yeah, that's currently on my read list. So my friends and I, we all just started a book club. So and our book next month is also by a South alum, Courtney Gould. So I think it's called The Dead in the Dark. And so, yeah, I read a little bit of everything, biographies, true crime. There's a podcast I follow. She has a series, The Butcher and the Wren.
Hmm.
And so that is on my queue as well. So trying to, now that I'm not in school, I'm trying to read more. And I got this great advice. Somebody said, well, if you would take multiple classes at one time, why wouldn't you read multiple books at one time? I was like, oh, I never thought of it that way. So, yeah, it's really opened my world to reading. Yeah, and I have one more in the queue. I think it is called The Wild. It's about a gal's journey across the Pacific Crest Trail. So
Mm.
a little bit of everything.
Well, shout out to Courtney and Abigail too. If you're listening, we would love to have you on our podcast.
They would be amazing
Yes.
additions. That is.
Favorite college class?
Ooh, all of my clinicals. especially my senior clinical. So I was in the emergency department in a smaller hospital in Seattle. Uh, I was I was such a good fit. I really look back on those experiences, and I my confidence as a new grad nurse was truly built on those experiences. So yeah, definitely actually being able to do what I'm passionate about. I loved those classes.
Any shout outs that you want to give, or even anyone that you think we should interview next?
Ooh, yes, Delia Olmos. So I sent her an email. I think she should be reaching out.
She did. Yes.
Oh, nice, exciting. Yes, I think she has a whole crew of folks that is she's connecting your way. But yes, she is truly one of those gals that, it's like, oh, what is she up to these days? Because she's doing incredible work, especially at Willamette Academy. Um, man, a shout out. Definitely class of 2014, 10 years,
10
holy
years.
smokes.
Yes.
So I think we are actually going to be getting together at the end of the year for kind of a belated um, reunion. So yeah, if y'all are free, the end of the year this year.
Perfect. Anything else that would be important for us to know or to connect to our students about your story?
Yeah, if anyone is interested in nursing, the military, being an officer, moving, especially I've lived in Hawaii, Washington, Texas, trying to move to Europe. Yeah, I would love to share my story. Love to cheer you on. No question is a bad question. Yeah, I would love to connect with you. Cats doesn't have to be anything crazy. So yeah.
Well, you've been so generous with your time and your advice, Rachel. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for jumping on with us today and sharing a bit of that story. It's so fascinating and so much to learn from. Again, we just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for another episode of Always a Saxon. Thank you so much to Rachel, and thank you so much to the class of 2014 for producing such a stellar student and graduate of South Salem High School. This episode was brought to us again by the Saxon Success Fund. If you or anyone you know wants to be involved in the Saxon Success Fund, please go to saxonsuccessfund.org for more information. We appreciate you. We'll catch you on the next episode.